nuclear showdown with North Korea just took a turn right out of a James Bond movie. According to a White House national security official, Kim Jong-un could actually be planning to use his nuclear arsenal to, quote, blackmail the United States. The way he explains it, Kim could threaten to attack the U.S. unless we pull all of our troops out of that region. And once that happens, well, Kim Jong-un would just roll his military might across the border into South Korea and take it over. So is this a likely scenario? Let me ask Gordon Chang. He's a Daily Beast columnist and author of Nuclear Showdown, North Korea Takes on the World. Welcome back, Gordon.
Thanks, Kennedy.
So what do you think of this blackmail theory, that the North isn't just amassing nuclear weapons and creating that program and trying to get intercontinental ballistic missiles to harm us and their neighbors, but it's really blackmail so they can take over the Korean peninsula?
I actually agree with that, and the reason is that North Korea started its nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs at a time when the U.S. was no threat to North Korea. They started back in the 1950s, just after the Korean War. They really got rolling, perhaps 1965, when Kim Il-sung, the founder of the North Korean state, asked Mao Zedong of China for the plans for a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
And China said no, but that's when they really started in North Korea. And there is a scenario that we need to work around, and that is, yes, the North Koreans could airmail a nuke at some point 4 years or so down the road.
Yeah.
But the thing that I worry about is they take apart a crude atomic device, they smuggle it across our undefended borders, and they put it on the only delivery vehicle that they need, which is a pickup truck. They just put it in a U.S. city, and then someone calls up the president and said, guess what? If you don't take your troops out of South Korea or you do something else, I'll detonate this. What
do you think the United States would do given that doomsday scenario?
It's really difficult to know because we're not
I can't imagine that the president would be like, hey, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I'm going to give in to that level of blackmail.
Yes, you wouldn't think so, and you'd hope that they wouldn't. But nonetheless, if there are lives of 10 million Americans at risk,
yeah.
Let's say they put it in New York City, you know, the calculus changes, and there could be all sorts of things that could happen. I mean, I don't know, Kennedy,
yeah.
But the point is this is something that U.S. Government officials think about. This is not something I just made up.
No, absolutely. I mean, we have to certainly run these scenarios without getting caught up in hysteria, and I think that's really important, especially here. But what is a practical issue is another American hostage in North Korea. And as you pointed out, Washington should no longer hold its North Korea policy hostage to hostages. What do you mean by that?
Well, in the past, when Americans were detained in North Korea, and they were detained on a regular basis, you know, we would send Bill Clinton, Jimmy Carter, Bill Richardson,
yeah.
somebody over there. And the North Koreans would use that as an attempt to start negotiations or obtain something from the U.S. So they saw these hostages really as bargaining chips. Now, everyone wants to free Americans who've been detained in North Korea.
And there are 3 that we know of right now in North Korea.
And there's probably a 4th, someone who was snatched from China and brought into North Korea. But, you know, there's a handful of them there.
But you know not to go to North Korea. I mean, people know that, so it's almost like kissing a growling pit bull and being surprised you get bit in the face. Yeah,
I mean, a number of these people have gone to North Korea against stern State Department travel advisories not to do so,
yeah.
and against common sense. Common sense says you don't go to North Korea in the middle of a crisis because the North Koreans can do anything. They could take them as a bargaining chip. They could take them as a human shield. There's all sorts of things the North Koreans do to people, and we got to understand that. So, yes, we should try to get them out, but let's not give concessions because if we do that, then we're just giving the North Koreans incentives to take Americans in the future. And we've had a long period where Americans have been grabbed and we've been negotiating,
yeah.
and they just take more people. So we got to put an end to this dynamic.
All right. Well, it certainly incentivizes all sorts of bad things. We'll see how this turns out. Again, it changes by the day. Thank you so much, Gordon Chang.
Thanks, Kennedy.
Good to see you again.